the young and the restless spoilers. As the investigation into Heather Romalotti's murder intensified, the atmosphere in Genoa City grew increasingly tense. Chance Chancellor, the seasoned detective leading the forensic team, was determined to leave no stone unturned. The meticulously sealed house of Daniel Romalotti had become a labyrinth of clues, each step revealing more about the tragic events that had unfolded. However, amidst the thorough search, several unexpected secrets began to surface, complicating the case even further. The forensic sweep, uncovering hidden truths. Under Chance's leadership, the forensic team methodically combed through every corner of Daniel's residence. What initially appeared to be a straightforward case was now revealing layers of complexity. The discovery of DNA samples from Heather, Daniel, and Lucy scattered throughout the house painted a bewildering picture. The presence of Sharon Newman's DNA added a shocking twist, suggesting her involvement in ways previously unimagined. Daniel, despite his fear and frustration, was powerless to change the situation. The police had their orders, and he had to comply, feeling increasingly trapped by the mounting evidence. His protests echoed in the quiet of the sealed house. "I've never killed Heather. She was my wife." Phyllis Summers, Daniel's mother, was beside herself with rage and desperation. The thought of her innocent son being framed was unbearable, and she was determined to see Sharon Newman behind bars. Her anger fueled her relentless pursuit of the truth, pushing her to gather any evidence that could incriminate Sharon. The relentless pursuit, Phyllis's determination. Phyllis's eyes blazed with determination as she reviewed the forensic reports. She knew Nick Newman held the key to exonerating Daniel, but his reluctance to act had only deepened her frustration. Phyllis approached Nick once more, her voice edged with desperation. "Nick, you have to help us. Daniel is innocent, and you know it. Don't let Sharon get away with this." Nick stood silently, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. He glanced at the evidence once more, feeling the gravity of the situation. Phyllis's relentless pursuit had left him with no choice. Reluctantly, he agreed to share the critical evidence, realizing that doing nothing would condemn his own son. With Nick's confession, the tide began to turn. The evidence pointed directly at Sharon, revealing her as the mastermind behind Heather's murder. The missing camera footage, the manipulated DNA evidence, it all tied back to Sharon's intricate plan to frame Daniel. Phyllis felt a surge of vindication, knowing that her relentless efforts were finally bearing fruit. Jack and Kyle's unexpected alliance. A glimmer of hope. Meanwhile, in a different part of Genoa City, Jack Abbott and his son Kyle found themselves in an uneasy alliance. Witnessing Diane's anguish and the turmoil she was enduring, they couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. Diane had always been a formidable force at Jabot, and seeing her broken by Jack's actions stirred something within them. Kyle, recognizing the depth of Diane's suffering, approached his father with a heavy heart. "Dad, maybe you went too far this time. Diane's hurting, and I hate seeing her like this." Jack, torn between his desire to protect his company and his lingering feelings for Diane, contemplated Kyle's words. The tension between them was palpable, but the sight of Diane's distress had softened Jack's resolve. He realized that holding Diane accountable so harshly might have pushed her to seek alliances that could threaten everything he had built. "Perhaps you're right, Kyle," Jack conceded, his voice tinged with regret. "I didn't mean for things to escalate this way. Maybe there's a way to help Diane without compromising Jabot." Kyle nodded, sensing a shift in his father's demeanor. "We owe her that much. She's been a loyal part of Jabot for years. Let's find a way to make this right." Diane's desperate gambit, aligning with Victor. Back at Jabot, Diane was already maneuvering her next move. After being humiliated and ousted by Jack, she had reached out to Victor Newman, fully aware of the volatile history between Victor and Jack. Victor, ever the opportunist, saw Diane's desperation as the perfect opportunity to dismantle Jack's empire and expand his own influence. Diane approached Victor with a proposition that was as dangerous as it was enticing. "Victor, I need your help. Jack has ruined my life, and I'm not leaving without a fight. Help me take him down, and we can both benefit from the downfall of Jabot." Victor, sensing the potential in Diane's proposal, agreed to support her. Together, they devised a plan to exploit Diane's knowledge of Jabot's inner workings and use it to bankrupt the company. However, Victor was aware of the personal animosities at play, especially between Diane and Kyle.
The crumbling evidence, Sharon's involvement exposed with Nick's revelation, the case against Sharon began to solidify. The DNA evidence, coupled with the missing camera footage, painted a damning picture of Sharon's involvement in Heather's murder. Phyllis worked tirelessly to gather testimonies and additional proof, determined to see Sharon face justice. Daniel, though terrified, found a glimmer of hope. With the new evidence, his legal team could potentially overturn the charges against him. Christine Blair, his steadfast attorney, reviewed the findings meticulously, preparing to present a compelling case in court. She knew that exposing Sharon's deceit was the key to Daniel's freedom and the restoration of his own peace of mind. Jack's realization, the cost of ambition. As Jack and Kyle navigated their newfound empathy for Diane, Jack began to reflect on his actions. His determination to protect Jabot and his loyalty to his family had inadvertently driven Diane to the brink. Seeing the pain he had caused her made him question the true cost of his ambition. "I never wanted it to come to this," Jack confessed to Kyle. "Protecting Jabot became my obsession, and I lost sight of what truly matters." Kyle placed a hand on his father's shoulder. "It's not too late to make things right, Dad. We can find a way to help Diane without tearing everything apart." Jack nodded, feeling the weight of his choices. "You're right, Kyle. We need to find a balance. Jabot is important, but so is our family. Maybe it's time to reconsider how we handle things." The final push, unraveling Sharon's web. As the investigation reached its climax, the evidence against Sharon was irrefutable. Forensic experts confirmed the DNA matches, and the missing camera footage was finally recovered, providing a clear timeline of Sharon's actions on the night of Heather's murder. The truth was undeniable. Sharon had orchestrated the entire scheme to frame Daniel, driven by motives that were still unclear but deeply personal. Phyllis, vindicated and resolute, led the charge to ensure Sharon faced the consequences of her actions. The courtroom drama unfolded with intense scrutiny as Christine Blair presented the evidence that exonerated Daniel and implicated Sharon. The once respected Sharon Newman now stood on the brink of losing everything she had worked for. Her reputation in tatters. Diane's uncertain future, allies and enemies. With Jack and Kyle beginning to reconsider their stance, Diane found herself at a crossroads. Her alliance with Victor had provided her with the means to challenge Jack, but the path forward was fraught with uncertainty. Victor remained a formidable ally, but Diane's own feelings of betrayal and anger threatened to destabilize their partnership. Diane's resolve was tested as she navigated the treacherous waters of corporate warfare and personal vendettas. Her desire for revenge was tempered by a lingering sense of loyalty